Today we're going to look at multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and 1000. And in today's video I'm going to do two examples. So I'm going to do an example where we times by a factor of 10 and then we're going to divide by a factor of 10, and we'll see that it's very, very similar in both cases. The first thing to notice is that 10 is equal to 10. This is very obvious. 100 is equal to 10 times 10, and 1000 is equal to 10 times 10 times 10. Now these things are all very obvious, you'll know these already, but it's going to turn out that being able to write factors of 10 in terms of the number of 10s we've got, so in this case 1000 is 10 times 10 times 10, or 10 cubed, is going to be very, very important and very, very helpful for doing the questions that I've got arranged. So question 1 you can see at the top of the page here. Question 1 is 3.761 times 100, or 3.761 times 10 times 10 times 10 squared. So let's use this. This is my grid. This is where I like to write numbers when I'm multiplying and dividing by 10. We've got 3.761. Let's put it into my grid. We've got 3 ones. We've got a decimal place. Oh, I've knocked the paper. We've got a decimal place. We've got 7 tenths. We've got 6 hundredths, and we've got 1 thousandth. Now, we've written it into our grid. We are timesing by 100, or we're timesing by 10 squared, or 10 times 10. The effect of timesing by 10, or multiplying by 10, is to shift every one of these numbers across one column. So, the effect of multiplying by 10 squared, or multiplying by 100, is to shift each one of these numbers across 2 columns. So my 7 is going to end up in my tens column. And very, very importantly, we mustn't move the decimal point. So let's do this nice and quickly. We've got a 3, that's going to move 2 columns across. It's going to move to the tens, and that's times 10, and to times by 100, it's going to move to the hundreds column. So I'm going to have 300 and something. My 7 is also going to move 2 columns across. It's going up in the tens column. My 6 is going to move 2 columns across. It's going up in the ones column, or the units column. I'm not going to move my decimal point. That's very, very important. I must never move my decimal point. And I move my 1, which was in my thousandths column, which is off screen, move my 1 to my tenths column. That's also moving 2 columns across. So if you do 3.761 times 100, i.e. shifting it 2 columns to the left, you get 376.1. 376.1. So if I go back to my question, 3.761 times 100, I can now write the answer in nice and confidently. I'll write it in green because I know it's correct. 376.1. Right, question 2. 426.3 divided by 1000. Right, this question, although it is probably slightly harder because it's division rather than multiplication, is almost exactly the same. I'm going to write 426.3 into my table. So I'm going to make some space down here. It's a new question, so I'm going to put a quick line so I don't get confused. 426, I'm going to have 4 hundreds, 2 tens, 6 ones, must never forget my decimal place, 0.3. So I've now written 426.3 into my table. Now this time, instead of going to the left, I'm going to the right because I'm dividing. My number's getting smaller because I'm dividing by a number greater than 1. I'm dividing by a number greater than 1, so it's going to get smaller. So that means I'm going to shift 3 columns this time because it's 1000, 3 columns to the right. So my 3 is going to shift 1 column, it's going to shift 2 columns, and it's going to shift 3 columns. So writing my 3 now in the 10,000ths column. Now come back over here. My 6 is also going to shift 3 columns along. So that's going to end up in the thousandths column. My 2 is going to come across to the hundredths column. My 4 is going to come across to the tenths column. And I must never forget my decimal place. If I've got digits after the decimal place, I must not forget to put my decimal place in. I'm going to put my decimal place in here. and I've got to put a 0 in the ones column because I've got no ones. So the answer to 426.3 divided by 1000 is 0.4263. 426.3 divided by 1000 is 0.4263. And I found that using my grid. All that remains is just to put the answer in at the top of the page. 426.3 divided by 1000 equals 0.4263. Thanks to the units grid. Hope that helps. Good luck.